Hey everybody, how you doing today? Okay, I can't hear you up here. Let's try that again. How you guys doing today? All right, cool. Thank you for coming to the 5 o'clock panel for the NATPE conference on day 2 of a very exciting conference. This is the Social TV Tech Enablers panel. So we have an awesome lineup of panelists who are going to be talking about social TV and how to drive real live tune-in to your shows and the various social media ways to do that. We've talked a lot about social media at the conference. Mark Cuban yesterday kicked off with talking about how the live experience of a TV show basically launches a social media buzz for your show. So we're going to talk about those tools to actually do that with these awesome panelists who all either do tools, make tools, create tools, and are awesome at it. So I'm Kevin Winston, founder of Digital LA. It's a networking group that organizes events, panels, and the Silicon Beach Fest Startup Entertainment Conference in Los Angeles. We do panels and conferences every week in LA. So that's me, and I'm at Digital LA. I'll now have the panelists introduce themselves in a similar manner, except you guys, in addition to your name, company, what you do real quick, and Twitter, something fun that has happened to you this week or that you're looking forward to this week. Since it's day 2, we can probably do what's already happened this week in Miami. So, all right, Max, let's start with you.
My name is Max Benator. I am an executive producer at Waywire, which is a social video network. And basically, not to go into too much detail right now, but YouTube is a closed environment in the sense that the YouTube video, on the YouTube platform, you watch YouTube video. Waywire allows you to watch video served from any number of platforms: YouTube, Vimeo, CNN, what have you. So it's a really great tool to share video without any barriers. And something interesting about
something
myself.
fun that happened this week or last night.
Last night, I got to hang out with Mark Cuban. It was a lot of fun.
All right, cool, thanks. Oh, and your Twitter?
Oh, at Benator.
At Benator, Benator. All right, cool. Damon.
I'm Damon Berger. I'm the CEO and executive producer of What's Trending. We are a show on YouTube that is essentially, think MTV for YouTube. We curate the hottest videos that are on the platform and provide an environment for not only the celebrities on YouTube who are generating millions of views across their own channels, but also the traditional celebrities that are now starting to migrate to the platform, like Russell Simmons or will.i.am, etc., to have a place that is a TV-style experience, but online. We shoot live every day from our studio in Hollywood, while Shira, my co-founder and the host of the show, and I are out. Lance Bass is hosting, so if you're an NSYNC fan, please go check us out at youtube.com/whatstrending. And something fun that happened last night, I think Anthony Zeiker might be casting me as a terrorist in his next TV pilot. So that's what he told me last night, so I have that looking forward to, which will be great.
Awesome, deals happening
Yes.
at the Blue Bar.
Yes.
Awesome, cool. All right, thanks. And your Twitter is again?
Oh, at Damon Berger.
And the show Twitter is at What's Trending.
Yep.
Okay, Ann.
Hi, I'm Ann Glenn. I'm the Director of Social Media at Sony Pictures Interactive. I do social media for Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, and a bunch of film, home entertainment, and television properties for Sony Pictures. My claim to fame probably is working on Dawson's Creek. I helped create the first interactive television show called Dawson's Desktop years and years ago. And I also just did the social media for the Emmys.
For the Emmys.
For the Emmys, yeah. So, and something fun that happened this week, I got to meet Mark Cuban. My sister-in-law was super jealous. And my Twitter handle is URLGRL.
And the Sony Pictures Twitter handle is at Sony Pictures. Great, all right, thank you. And Sean.
Hi everyone, Sean Besser. I'm EVP of Business Development, Partnerships and Strategy at GetGlue. Basically, I oversee the business side of the company. GetGlue is the leading social TV company built on the foundation of enabling users to check into the TV shows and movies and sporting events that they love, but has expanded from that to really focus on the entire spectrum of enabling people to find content that they want, check into it, and get more engaged with it. One of the more interesting things that happened to me this week was actually about an hour ago. I was standing in line for coffee at the coffee shop right next to the lobby, and Byron Allen was doing something on his phone, and he literally just walked right into me. So I was like, get the hell out of my way. No. My Twitter handle is @SeanBesser, and it's @GetGlue.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. All right.
Hi, Mike Folgner from SnappyTV. My Twitter handle is @mfolgs, F-O-L-G-S. And SnappyTV is a platform for live cloud video editing and syndication. We just actually put out a press release today that we basically, you as an editor can go in and watch a sporting event or a TV show live, and if something happens, soccer goal, you can clip it and immediately push it out to Facebook, Twitter, Uyala, Brightcove, YouTube, wherever you want it. So we can now say that if you cut a clip on SnappyTV, you can reach the largest audience possible with any platform, with all the partnerships that we've done, out of any platform there. So if you want to hit your content instantly, SnappyTV is the place to go. And this week, last night I got a video from my wife of my 4-year-old swimming the length of a pool for the first time in swim class. That was special.
Oh, bring him over to the Fontainebleau. There's a couple pools
that
out
is
here,
a
too.
length that he cannot swim yet.
Well, I'll do that after the panel. No, just kidding. Or maybe. So, cool. So thanks all for joining us. So that's our panelists. I'd like to figure out who the audience is, because I do marketing a lot. So I want to make sure that we tailor the panel to what you guys want to talk about. So who here works for a TV studio or production company or distribution network? Raise your hand. Okay, who here is a social media expert already? Social media guru, does social media or digital marketing? Raise your hand. All right, who here just wants to learn more about all this social TV stuff? Raise your hand. All right, everybody else, cool, awesome. All right, so you see that I've been checking my phone already. So if you guys have your phones, your Blackberries, iPads, if you could actually take them out and put them in the on position, which we say at every Digital A event, and we're saying at this panel too, because much like a live TV show, this is a live experience too. So we're actually going to use some of these tools, which we're talking about in real life, which is basically Twitter. So the Twitter hashtag that we'll use is hashtag NATPE, and use the hashtag SocialTV. That way we actually get picked up by both people searching for NATPE and people searching for social TV, rather than one combined merged one. We got more traffic that way. All right, so if these guys say something awesome, go ahead and, which they'll do a lot, so go ahead and use the hashtag NATPE and hashtag social TV. It's probably about 14 characters combined when you do your tweets, so we'll be able to see that. If you have questions, go ahead and raise your hand in real time. I'm not going to wait all the way till the end because I hate doing that because I have ADD thanks to Twitter. So we'll take questions all throughout. Or you can go ahead and tweet what you want to have to. And folks who are viewing at home or your offices, we tweeted the live stream link out to a lot of our following in the Los Angeles area and the East Coast. So go ahead and tweet your questions too using hashtag NATPE and hashtag SocialTV, and I'll see them and be able to ask these questions in real time. So even though you're not here to raise your hand, we'll still be able to ask you. All right? Cool. Awesome. So why don't we kick things off? So there's a lot of ways to engage folks with social TV. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube are some of the most common ones. What are some good strategies to use to communicate with fans, to get them to watch a show live using Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube? Use real live examples and stats if you have them. Who's got some examples? And what engages best? Is it a photo of what's happening on screen? Is it a video? What engages people and gets the most likes or drives tune into the live show?
I'm happy to kick it off. So one of the foundations that GetGlue was built on was working with the networks and studios to drive viewership through rewarding people for checking in. And we work with 75 plus networks and all the movie studios to issue stickers when people check into to shows and movies that they're watching. And the networks get to dictate the rules by when stickers get issued. And a lot of them limit the stickers to only being issued during the live viewing of a show. So if you want to earn the Office sticker or the Breaking Bad sticker, you have to check in during that primetime viewing window for the show. And it's something that helps drive people more towards live viewing, which also helps accomplish marketing goals of the networks, because nearly 60% of all of our check-ins get shared out to a social network, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, etc. And the viral marketing that the networks get out of that is tremendously strong because it's authentic, because it's coming from me. Sean, checked into Breaking Bad, and I'm sharing that out to Facebook, and I'm doing it during the live viewing. So it actually has an amplification effect where all of my friends go, oh, Sean watches it? Oh, it's on right now. let's go tune in.
Seeing a check-in on Facebook or Twitter will drive tune into the show because my friends are watching it, I better watch it too.
Yep, and it's just awareness that it's on right now.
All right, cool. Who else?
So there's the two things that two ways that people find out about TV shows. Number one and number two. Number one is they hear about it from a friend, and number two is they hear about it from the network. They see a commercial about the show. That's why in the Super Bowl, they put ads about what's going to be on next in the Super Bowl. And one of the things that we found is that by tweeting, basically the thesis is that the best ad for the content is the content itself. The best ad for tuning into a soccer match right now is show somebody a goal that just happened, tell them the score's tied 1-1 for their favorite team, and there's 4 minutes left in the game. They'll go watch that game right now. And so that's kind of what the thesis that kind of we centered on is that if we allow Fox Sports or the Premier League to tweet out the the goals during the match and then tell people in that video clip where to watch it on Fox Sports Soccer or click here to watch it online. That's actually one of the very, very very good ways you can drive traffic from social media that may be doing something else. Hey, I wasn't watching the game, but I'm going to go watch it now.
All right, so for SnappyTV, you let a TV show or award show or a live concert tweet out a photo or a little video clip of what's happening live. And other people are like, oh, wow, I can't believe that was on. I got to watch it. So then they also tune in to watch it.
And some stats from Twitter, photos click 5x higher at a higher click-through rate than a text message does. Video clicks 4x. And we see as much as a 5% click-through rate from a highlight to a linear feed if you can click through. So if, for instance, there's a conference online and somebody tweets a moment from the conference, we have a link that says go watch it now. We see as much as a 5% of the audience, 5 out of 100 people, go watch that linear show now.
Those are some nice stats. So basically, if you do a photo, whether it's Instagram or Twitter probably, you have 5 times the actual click-through. People actually watch the show. Okay, so this stuff works, guys. Cool. Anybody else want to talk about what they are working on?
Well, I was going to say, not so specifically, but more broadly, I'm a big believer in influencer strategy and using influencers to drive tune-in. And I think that a lot of people use social influencers, whether online personalities or traditional talent from traditional media, incorrectly. One is really ensure that they care about or you have them invested in some way in what they're sharing. Because in today's social world, people who are fans of that particular individual are going to see right through it. And the second thing is make sure that they have real conversion. I think there's huge confusion about the power of how to use let's use an example of someone with 1 million followers on Twitter who gets very, very little conversion versus somebody who has 10,000 followers on Twitter and they get massive conversion. You'll actually see bigger numbers go from one place to another place, whether that's TuneIn or wherever else you're driving them, from somebody with a much smaller number of followers on their social footprint.
So how can you measure that? If someone has, like Justin Bieber has 33 million followers, how do you know what the conversion rate is of those who actually will do something if he says, hey, watch my show?
Well, so the conversion from the very interactive internet to the terrestrial television is difficult to gauge. You can gauge by putting cookies, or you can have secret code words. You can give an audience member a tool from Twitter that they can use, and so you can get a little bit of how they convert. If you're converting from online to online, there's Bitly, there's all kinds of trackers you can use.
Okay, cool. Great point about influencers. Let's talk a little bit about celebrities, because at the opening keynote, Mark Cuban said that he actually tweeted about the Shark Tank show that he was on, which actually drove a lot of Twitter activity, which actually increased ratings. So actually having your talent slash celebrities, influencers who are actually in the show, tweet during the show is a pretty popular way to do it. Glee has been really successful at that because all of their cast members are on their show, and it's a perfect audience demo fit. What are some other case studies of having talent slash celebrities participate to actually drive tune-in?
Well, I think, ultimately the idea of celebrity has changed a little bit, where, TV networks, what they look at, and I think what has been successful for them are celebrities that have been time tested and can prove to open movies or drive tune into television shows, whereas the things that will help social conversation along aren't necessarily those types of people. They're more of the people who are the iJustines of the world and the people who can really energize a following and point their numbers in a direction. And so,
okay, so the YouTube influencers, like what you were saying, Max. So how do you get the YouTube influencers to be talking about your show?
well, it's interesting. I mean, if you're talking about a traditional
What do you have on your show and what's trending?
I was going to say, if you're talking about a traditional television show, you know, I've seen people, even specifically Justine, stunt casted into Law and Order, into the different shows where, to Max's point, she becomes emotionally invested in sharing that content and saying that she's on, and there's a story around that. For online, I think, you know, what we do at What's Trending is, you know, we really do very heavily rely on the people who are on our show to let their communities know what's happening in real time as it happens, and, you know, in fun ways. Like, I think you had mentioned that there are 5x click-through rates on photos. You know, if you're using Twitter, we obviously know photos are the way to engage the audience. If you're using Tumblr, then, you know, reblogging and doing the things that are specific to that network are really what will end up driving, you know, so there's best practices, and then there's, you know, using the influencers, and got to have both strategies dialed in.
Cool. And what are the other social TV integrations you have for your show? Are there votings, polls, that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
Questions
we
to
do.
ask?
We do a lot more open kind of chat than we do, here's a structure around how to be interactive, because polls are, you know, I don't know. To me, it's like I watch like something like ESPN, who has the better offense, the 49ers or the Ravens, and it's watching and it's watching that bar just kind of go 49-51, and it's nothing really engaging to me. I think it's cooler when you have the real interaction, when I have somebody, you know, like we have Allison Hazlip as our co-host this week, who was on Attack of the Show for a lot of years, and so she's going to be the person who says, oh, hey, Max Benator asked this question to our, you know, celebrity guests that are on the show, and that Max now is going to go, oh my God, they just said my name on the show. I'm going to go back to my social networks, take that clip, get it redistributed to those networks, and at the same time, as a best practice, what we do is we say, you know, after the show, hey, at Max Benator or at Benator, we just answered your question on the show. Did you see it? And again, fueling that social conversation.
So talking to the audience via Twitter as they're watching the show to engage them. All right, cool. All right, so like I said, I like to go into the audience midway to get questions. So who has questions about what we talked about so far? Basically, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as social platforms, which are better, photos, videos, and also using celebrity influencers, whether it's a celebrity on a TV show or using YouTube influencers. Who has questions about those two topics so far? We'll save the other ones for later.
Kevin, you had one up here, but
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, can you stand up, say your name and company and your question quickly? If it's not a question, I'm going to cut you off.
I'm from South America, and I would like to ask you, which should be the things that a show must do in these social networks, and the things that you shouldn't do. As I'm a producer, and I would like to know from your experience.
Okay, a couple things you should do and shouldn't do.
one thing, get your talent to tweet. I think if you just look at the reach of who's in your show and your network and kind of the people you're affiliated with, people, I sometimes when we work with content owners, they often overlook the fact that they actually have some pretty big, you know, blowhorns to just go through and tune in, talk about the show and that sort of stuff. So that would be one thing that's low-hanging fruit that you can just ask them to do that.
For me, I would say that the key thing is to think strategically about your show and what's going to resonate with the viewers or potential viewers of your show. Not all shows are the same. Not all social media strategies are the same. It's not a checkbox of I have to do Facebook, I have to do Twitter, I have to do GetGlue. You have to really think, who are your viewers and what's going to resonate with them? And, you know, one of the little known facts out there is GetGlue actually gets more activity per show for scripted shows than Twitter does. And content companies are trying to utilize us in different ways. And going back to your last question, Kevin, one of the things that we did, like with Days of Our Lives, which is not a show that's going to index well on Twitter, what they did over the Olympic hiatus last year with us was they had cast members come onto the platform and do live chats every day during the 2-week hiatus. And it blew up because fans were had an opportunity to get more engaged with the content in a way they don't usually get. And when it came back on the air, it had its highest ratings in the last 11 months. And so what you really need to do is think about what is going to really resonate with my fans. Do they want to engage with the talent? Do they want to sort of have an extended experience with the show? Who are they and what are they looking for?
You understand your audience and use the social tools to reach out to them, and like you said, try to get the influencers, celebrities, if there are involved as well. All right, cool.
I'd like to add one thing.
Yeah.
So the television has a history, because of the way that the technology works, of having a one-way conversation. It's a conversation from the show to the audience. And with all of the tools available now, it is a many-way conversation. It's a two-way conversation, it's a many-way conversation. So I think you guys are exactly right. Have the talent, tweet, use the tools at GetGlue, have them engage, but don't set up a Twitter feed and then just have postings go out advising what's happening like it's a bulletin board. It's really about a multi-way conversation.
Yeah, I would say definitely it's engaging with your fans, talking to them. If sometimes you can't get talent involved. I mean, sometimes they're just not on the social platforms. So the simplest thing you can do is talk back to your fans and retweet your fans, make them feel special, make them feel like they're part of the show, and make them feel like they have some influence over the show, even though they really don't. But they kind of makes them feel like a part of it.
And sometimes maybe they do.
Sometimes they do. Sometimes they can change a show,
Yeah, and I'm going to echo that and say it doesn't have to come from the talent. The talent, obviously causes a sort of tidal wave, but fans want to get more engaged with the content itself. And so like with GetGlue and a lot of the other places, we have, every show has their own handle, and it's owned by the show or the show creators or the social media people at the network. And they go on and they post pictures and post questions and actually genuinely and authentically engage with the fans, and they love that because they feel like they're touching Wheel of Fortune or touching whatever the show is in a way that they never were able to do so before. And again,
I just want to add on that real quick, sorry, and then we can move on.
Gotta move on. We got 23 minutes left.
It doesn't, and it can be somebody on the production staff who becomes a personality as well if the talent isn't available.
I mean, to be honest, when it comes down to it, I think, Sean had said, each show presents its own challenges. It's its own show. Everything you do for that specific creative is going to be specific to that show. But I do think that, when it's all said and done, the idea is to create that conversation at any level you can. Because the more people you have talking about your show, the more you can take those super fans and really energize them to doing what you do.
On a panel in the Fontaine Room yesterday, one of the panelists was talking about this and said that, with TV, you're not just broadcasting, you're engaging. So especially with social media, you're not just broadcasting a show at 4 o'clock on Tuesdays, you actually are engaging a community that starts at 4 o'clock on Tuesdays and then continues throughout the rest of the week or year. So cool, let's go. So we've talked about some of the off-the-shelf tools like Facebook, Twitter, and getting talent to help drive tune-in. Let's talk about some of the, the more advanced tools. GetGlue would be one of them. SnappyTV is another one of them. What about some of the second screen experiences that also drive tune-in, such as ZBox and some of the other tools? Who has experience using some of those tools? Or TV Plus, which, by the way, is actually in the back streaming. And they're actually, if you guys have the TV Plus app that's associated with the conference, there are a couple of questions that are being spit out, I think. We have 2 questions, so go ahead and answer those questions. And then I guess there's someone from TV Plus who is being the TV Plus jockey in the back.
Right there.
Can let us know what the answers are, and that would be great. I think the first question is, have you guys used any sort of social TV, or have you tweeted during a show? Have you used any sort of social media interaction during a TV show? And then a second question that's going to pop up on the TV Plus app if you guys are using it is, which tools do you use? So go ahead and answer those, and then if someone from the TV Plus jockey in the back can let us know the answers, I'm kind of curious what they are. Cool. So let's talk about the tools. So ZBox, TV Plus, what are the other tools that are commonly being used to help drive tune-in by providing second screen information or other sort of a live stream with Twitter, that collects all the Twitter or Facebook, and this could be an app that you download. It could be something that you Shazam. It could be something that's on the official website of the show. It could be a custom thing that you built with a third party. What are some of the good tools that are out there?
We use GetGlue a lot. I mean,
I love you, Ann.
I am a huge GetGlue fan. It just, regardless, I love GetGlue, and I use them a lot during the Emmys. And it was during the live broadcast of the Emmys, I was trying to retweet fans and talk to fans, and my entire stream was people checking in on GetGlue.
Awesome.
I mean, that's all it was. And we looked at the numbers afterwards, and they drove the most engagement to our show. I mean, it was completely amazing. It blew my mind because we use it a lot on movies and television shows and that, but for a live event, it was completely amazing.
That's great. Thank you.
We did like
Oh, we had drinks out by the pool at the party.
we did like a bunch of different stickers. So we did 5 different stickers leading up to the Emmys. So people checking in to Emmy-nominated shows at different times would get stickers to remind them that the show was coming up. And I think that helped really drive tune into the show as well.
Great. All right, for example, GetGlue, other people.
Thank you.
Did your job
I've
for you.
been impressed with, I think, some of the Oscars and Emmys experiences on my iPad. Really, really great second screen co-viewing. I know you and Shira were involved with the Oscars, I believe. And my hope for the future is that these technologies become standardized, not because I don't think it's really cool to have a bunch of different kinds of experiences, but because I'd love to see them reach scale. I'd love for the Oscars co-viewing experience, the Grammys co-viewing experience, where you're looking at video from the backstage, you're looking at video from the red carpet, you have the stuff on screen. I'd love to see that proliferate a little bit more widely.
Okay. And I was going to say, one of the things, and I ran into one of the either business development heads for TV Plus, and we got to talking about that type of experience is really only successful when you're literally producing a second stream. It's not enough to kind of just say, hey, here's my app, and my app contains some behind the scenes content, some stuff that you don't get on TV. That's not enough. You have to really understand that if you're going to engage a person enough to have a 2-screen experience, you have to be producing that second screen in a way that is compelling enough so that there is a looped engagement to that. But I will say also that ABC and Albert Chang, I think, is one of the better navigators of how to create that 2-screen experience. It goes the other way too. Some shows aren't meant to be in that environment. Grey's Anatomy is his example, and he said that, look, I mean, ultimately, you're missing story points if your head is down in an iPad, and that's not how that TV experience is for a lot of people. So you have to really kind of measure what the right hooks are for the right creative on what it is that you're doing for that second screen.
Well, I don't think it even needs to be like while the show is happening. Something like The Following. They built a huge Tumblr blog that during the show, like you can look at it during the show and see some of the stuff that's happening, but you can take a deeper dive after the show, so it keeps you around 7 days a week.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be like all the time.
And I always thought that was interesting. Of the 168 hours a week, you're on air for a half an hour or an hour if you're a drama, and it really is about that other 167 hours, and what are you doing to incentivize your fans to continue talking about it, so that while that conversation doesn't dip all the way down, it's still here. So you're not ramping it back up for that one live window or the C3 window. You've already done a good job of keeping that conversation having momentum.
Right. We'll get into that a little bit later when we talk about how to maintain the momentum between the live shows, but stay on live shows for a little bit more. To your point with Disney ABC TV on the Oscars app, they had all those like live backstage cams for the Oscars app experience last year, which I think they're going to do this year too. Plus they have live, just download the Oscars app on the plane right here. So they also have like Facebook voting, where you can like basically create a voting pool and tell your friends who you think is going to win as you're watching the show. So that's another way to do it. Let's talk about cool campaigns then. What are some cool campaigns in social TV that made you go, oh wow, that's really cool? Because that will help, I think, generate some ideas on some things that you can do with social TV. And I know that you do a lot of stuff with Wheel of Fortune and Twitter. Can you talk about those campaigns?
So we play, it's actually stopping right now because we're going into like our special like Disney sweeps week kind of thing. But we play Twitter toss-up every day. So we'll tweet out a category, and then during the course of the day, we'll tweet out the answer. And it's tied into Twitter, so that we've got it hooked up to the Twitter app. If you've allowed it, then if you answer the question correctly, you're put on a leaderboard on the site. And then we'll tweet you that you like are the winner of the day. And you don't get anything other than like the virtual satisfaction of being the winner of Twitter toss-up that day. But it's kind of fun because it kind of drives tune in.
Cool. Also, Hawaii Five-0 with CBS and Pretty Little Liars. They recently launched campaigns where on both shows,
in January this month or last month, there was some murder or something happened, and you're supposed to basically use Twitter to figure out who you thought was guilty. So if you thought like Bill was guilty or the gardener was guilty, you would tweet Gardner guilty as you're watching the show. And then at least for CBS, they actually basically looked at all the Twitter hashtags in live in real time, and they actually, whoever the viewers thought via Twitter hashtag was most guilty, they actually had 3 alternate endings, and the one that was the most guilty, they actually aired that ending. And then they released the other endings online, which drove traffic. People could say, oh, what if the other person did it? And see what happened. So that actually, I think, was like the first time that a TV show actually changed its outcome based on Twitter in real time.
Yeah, but it's kind of nice because a lot of times they may do an alternate ending, and you only see that alternate ending on DVD.
Yep.
So it's kind of nice in the real world of social media now to actually use that alternate ending.
Right. Any other examples? You did some stuff for the Olympics, right?
Well, we talked about the Days of Our Lives thing during the Olympics. Okay. Another great example. So what we do a lot is work with the networks to try and drive anticipation, awareness, and sort of getting the fans to evangelize content to their friends. FX is a company that we do a lot with, and around American Horror Story, they did something really cool where they went onto GetGlue, onto Facebook, onto Twitter, and told everyone, we're going to release the sneak preview for season 2 exclusively on GetGlue, but not until we get a critical number of fans who check into that. And what that did was just created a tidal wave of the people that love the show checking in and incentivized to share their check-in with friends so that friends would go check in and get the number to that threshold so that they can go watch the video, because it was such an appetite for watching that movie.
I was going to mention that too. I think providing an incentive, providing something as a reward. Yeah. I mean, obviously GetGlue is that engine. It's incentivizing people to collect stickers and, But
our focus is absolutely now, the stickers we continue to, they're fantastic, but we've figured out some really fun ways to work with content around like exclusive content, or at the Grammys next week. Another great example of what we're going to be doing is if you check in and share your check-in with friends, you enter a sweepstakes to win tickets to a VIP package to next year's Grammy Awards. And so it's things like that where we're trying to get in the heads of what's going to motivate the viewers to take the action that the content owners and the networks want them to take.
And one of the things on that incentivized strategy is we had a kind of a throwback to the old school Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin telethons. We called it Tuba Tweetathon. It was kind of Lollapalooza-y. And we teamed up with Virgin Mobile and had a hashtag Tubathon, and said for every time that's tweeted or retweeted with the hashtag Tubathon, we'll donate $1 to, or Virgin Mobile will donate $1 to Covenant House, which helps youth homelessness. And so we ended up, because we had an emotional engagement and a goal for our viewers and our audience, not only did they help drive viewership, to a very large extent with the live show that we did that night, but it was such a big campaign that with no money, with no media behind it, we were the #3 trend in the US. We beat out Glee that night, which was an original Glee airing. And it really did prove to us the power that if you can give your audience members something that is really emotionally driving for them, whether it's, I love American Horror Story, I want to unlock this piece of content, or it's something along the lines of, wow, all I have to do is retweet, and I can affect the outcome of whatever. Some kid
all they had to do is retweet and donate $1.
All they had to do is tweet or retweet with the hashtag, and they got $1 and donated.
So that makes people feel good that they participated. It's pretty easy to retweet, and if some kid
we've done that with Ellen. We did that with Aflac at Thanksgiving, where it's if you check in, like for Ellen, 12 Days of Christmas, if you checked into the Ellen show, I believe it was Walgreens donated $1 to Toys for Tots, and people went nuts.
So there's some great incentives. So basically, the incentives to get people to check in are basically to let people know what's happening, plus social good, charity, plus getting something out of it, tickets to the Grammys. Any other incentives, point systems?
I just think people want something. They're used to sharing now, and now they've gotten to the point where they want something for sharing.
What about unlocking original content?
What do I get out of it? Content? Yeah, exactly. So if there's a trailer launch for a movie, you're unlocking maybe an exclusive interview or something that they're not going to see somewhere else. Right. So, what do I get for sharing your content?
I think Pretty Little Liars did this too. They had some sort of like Twitter interaction with 2 of the cast members right after the show. And then people who engaged on the app got a chance to unlock a preview for next season's episode or the next episode that they didn't air on TV. You could only see it in the app. So that's another incentive, unlocking exclusive content to people as a reward for participating. Yeah.
One thing we did just last quarter with the CW is inside the Vampire Diaries app, they released the Caption Now feature that we powered, where basically if you're simultaneously watching the Vampire Diaries episode, you can go into this Caption Now and you get, every 5 seconds, you get a screenshot of what's live on TV. You can kind of flip through and pick your shot and then put a caption on it, then pin it or share it to Twitter or Facebook. And the engagement on that was really high. And then what the CW did was then they took their audience kind of conversation and they would feature on the CW website and then retweet and push back to the audience. So the audience was participating in the content, then the CW would take and make those people stars that they picked. Cool. And then everybody kind of freaked out that they got, that their quote about one of these hot actors is on the CW
fame
website.
and recognition, which doesn't cost anything, can also help
It was super simple. They're just, they're just looking at the best ones saying, feature that, tweet it out.
Can I ask you a quick question on that? Did they limit which clips were going to be captioned, or was it just anything that was?
So what we did is we can take any image we can take every image from the broadcast every 5. So in that one, we took every 5 seconds, we put an image in a cover flow interface, and you can just flip through as you're watching live. They kind of come in and sweep to the left, and then you can just flip through and grab that image. And the CW is beautiful people with shadows, and every image is something to say. And so the captions were great, and there'd be little memes and stuff like that.
That's cool.
So it was great, but the CW did a great job of feeding that back to the audience, making people famous, saying this was a great caption, and then they felt really good, and it was a great way to do it.
So we just covered about a dozen different case studies on social TV, so if you guys are paying attention. So with various shows and various networks. There's actually a website called Vast Media, which is run out of Berlin, which actually tweeted me because I found out this panel, and they gave me access to this database that they're creating of social TV case studies, which have a little screenshot and what happened and what the results were. So I hadn't really seen anything like that before, but it was kind of cool. So just want to shout out to those guys because it's kind of cool to have a database of the various programs, because I think there's one every 2 weeks, some new TV show has a new cool campaign. It's nice to have all in one spot. Cool. So let's stop again, a second break to do questions from the audience. By the way, thanks folks for tweeting, including Vast Media, Max Dawson, and the Illusion Factory. That's only 3 tweets using social TV and NATPE, and there's a lot more people than that in this room. So guys, let's get on Twitter and get engaged. All right, who has questions so far about what we've talked about, either case studies or actual tech tools that enable? Let's get the question in the back. All right, can you stand up?
Are there any copyright issues with SnappyTV?
So we're a platform that we license to the digital rights holder, and so in the case of the CW, they own the copyright to the images and the content, and we work with Fox for X Factor. They own it, or if they don't, they get permission from Fremantle, and so there are significant copyright issues in doing this, but our platform basically can meet the requirements. We do things like we time delay East to West Coast, so if somebody tweets a clip on the East Coast broadcast, you can't see it in the West Coast until it airs in your time zone. So we've actually kind of gone through the list. I've met with probably 30 GCs at media companies, gone through a very extensive list on all the reasons you can't do it, and kind of technologically checked them all off, and now you can. So
just to be clear, SnappyTV lets the content creators, the TV shows and networks, create these little clips. It's not just anybody sitting in their room doing it.
Yeah, we're a platform for the rights holder, and so it's actually very complex and gives people a headache, but you can actually solve it.
Well, 5 times and 4 times is pretty good. It sounds like it's worth it. Next question.
Social media use around television isn't always complementary to the programs that people are watching and tweeting about or writing about on their Facebook pages. I know that for me, that's part of the appeal. I'm more likely to watch a show I don't like if I know there's some great snarky tweeters who will be live tweeting it. But how do you guys, working with your partners or with your own brands, how do you deal with the sort of the snarky negativity that sometimes seems to congregate on these sites?
What's your question? If someone tweets negative things about your show during a live show, how do you deal with it?
Is every tweet a good tweet? Is every check-in a good check-in? Or does it matter if they're saying positive or negative things?
If someone's trash talking a show, and I was like, I can't believe it, this show sucks. Why are people watching hashtag whatever?
Especially if you're on Facebook, at least you're talking about my show. So, that breaks my edge rank a little bit, especially if you're on my page, liking my content or commenting on a post that I make. So it's going to show up more in your news feed, so that helps the edge rank of my page. I don't care if it's positive or negative, you're talking about my show, and maybe your negative content sparks somebody to tune into my show, and they really like what our show is about. So you may not like it, but they may like it. It drives tune in.
My feeling as a producer is, unless it's so negative that, holy crap, this show is pretty bad, it's all good.
Yeah.
I was going to say the same. I mean, basically, if you're talking about like Honey Boo Boo and the show that everybody loves to hate and loves to talk about hating it, but yet continues to watch it, that's great.
I want to watch it.
But it ultimately is, if your overall sentiment is negative, then that's a good indicator that your show isn't going to be on the air for very long.
You delete a bad Facebook post.
But that may help, change the course of the show too.
Not really, though. If you look at it from a perspective of overall social conversation, say episode 1 airs of something, and you have a 70% negative sentiment on Twitter. Generally, unless it's something like Honey Boo Boo, where you look at the creative, you look at the creative and you say, okay, what is it about this? What are the hooks that people love about this show? Because people love that, because it makes them feel good about themselves, that they're not them. Mm-hmm. And so it ultimately has a great little emotional resonance and but ultimately, if you're talking about a show like, my favorite was My Generation. Like 2 years ago on ABC went out and spent $25 million in a summer to launch a show called My Generation, and it lasted a week. And so, ultimately after that one airing, people were all over social networks just bombing that show. Mm-hmm. And so there's going to be an element that says this works and this doesn't, and sometimes social media is a really good indicator of that.
Let's move on to stats. We've actually talked a lot about stats throughout the conversation, which I like because it's already woven in how we talk about stuff. You mentioned sentiment analysis, which is one way to track how you're doing. You mentioned number of check-ins. What are some other ways to track all the social TV activity and see that it's working, so you can talk to your superiors and be like, yes, the social media works?
It's all about engagement for me.
How do you measure engagement?
The number of people that have liked it or commented on a post or retweeted or just used a hashtag that appeared on the show. Yeah, the shares. That's how I track how well.
Okay. For us, the big area of growth has been in what we call our feeds, which we basically have chat rooms for every show and movie where people, after they check in, go into the room and talk about the shows that they're watching. And you have threads where it's just the general chat room, or you can have a separate thread with just friends. And it really is about sort of seeing how much activity there is on it, whether it's good, whether it's bad. It really is about driving engagement through that. And sometimes it's just with friends, sometimes it's with the show people that I was talking about earlier. Our feeds have really taken off since we launched them last summer.
Feeds, and then Mike, you mentioned you can track 5 times or 4 times.
One thing we do that's a little bit different is we do this thing we call social volume, and it's kind of like SoundCloud for TV. And so what we do is we allow an editor, that's a show editor, to say, okay, these are the keywords that I think are going to be said about my show. And then we take we make a sound wave out of basically like when Twitter mentions that a lot, the sound wave gets big, and when it's quiet, it's crickets. And then we allow you to put video clips on the timeline, so that so you can actually visually see Twitter blew up here. Because after every big show, after the Grammys, after the Emmys, Twitter will announce there were 10,000 tweets per second in this moment. And we actually visualize that and say, this is when everybody talked about your show. And we show it to editors so they can make sure they get a clip. It's like, if everybody's talking on Twitter about that moment, you better get a clip out there. But we also expose it to users to basically say, what about this show should I pay attention to? It's pretty cool.
We have about 2 minutes left. Let's go right to the audience for questions for the remaining time. Who's got questions? And if you don't, I have a couple
what's amazing is I think that you're going to end up in a position where the data set that you get is going to end up influencing how people program. So if in episode 2, Carrie and blah, blah, blah have a great moment that, in episode 6 and the arc is going to come back, then how do you monetize that even more effectively, knowing that out of that commercial break, you're going to have the highest sentiment, you're going to have the highest traffic?
We've already sold ads against the most tweeted moments from sporting events.
That's so cool.
So because that's actually
the dollars to it.
That's actually a better ad than other moments.
And Sean, you have a dollars announcement?
Yeah, we're actually rolling out monetizations along a similar line starting this weekend, Super Bowl weekend, where for the first time you're going to see promoted slots either in the guide or in the feeds, and it's going to be native ads that flow within the context of the feeds, and people can share them, they can tweet them, they can talk about them. That's rolling out Sunday.
All right, you heard it here first. Snappy, Super Bowl, GetGlue, Sunday, monetization. How about tracking increased ratings? Anyone be able to prove that social media activity has increased ratings for the TV show?
We can track a click through from a highlight to something broadcast online. We've talked to Nielsen about how to do it for TV.
Okay.
The scale's hard, but we know we can drive. We've seen as much as a 20% lift in audience from links to highlights driving to a linear during the show. So we can drive. Actually, if you have 1,000 people watching a show, we can turn it into 1,200 just by doing tweeted highlights.
Awesome. Last question. 1 minute left. Ken, go.
I will first say, Kevin, great job at Digital LA. I live in Los Angeles, and I attend many of your events.
Yeah, Kevin.
In full disclosure, I actually work with Mike at Snappy, but I haven't asked him this question this week. We're going to do the NCAA Final Four, and is that something where we're going to be more consumer sharing clips, grabbing clips of all those games, or is that going to be something that's editorial with the client, with the NCAA? I wasn't sure how you're going to set that up, actually. So, and which do you see as more advantageous?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Oh, both. We're gonna do both. Thanks, Mark. I didn't plant that, but yeah, we're gonna do March Madness again. It's gonna be great.
All right, cool. Well, the clock is down to 0, so we're out of time. Let's give our panelists a big round of applause for sharing the social TV stuff with us. Talk about a ton of stuff, celebrities, using tech tools, monetization, stats, how you measure it. So I'm sure that if you guys want to hang out for a little bit, maybe folks have some questions, we'll probably have to do out there. Unless we're the last panel of the day, which we can kind of own
the
this
last
place.
panel.
So, all right, cool.
Big shout out to Digital LA. Thank you, Kevin, putting this together.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you, NATPE, for having us.